So I'm Dewey,
And I'm Terry.
and we would like for you to join us as we lead you on a marriage adventure that reminds us all how to treat your spouse.
We will discuss ways to rekindle the romance in your marriage while gaining some wisdom on what it takes to build a marriage that lasts.
Welcome to our podcast,
Treat Your Spouse.
So we did something a little bit different this week. I thought it'd be really neat if we actually looked back on 2020 and saw what we learned. But at the same time, I wanted to do a date that we could kind of relate it to. So I thought, all right, here's something. I had bought a Groupon for Sam's Club, and I remember going to a Sam's Club as a small child and just what an amazing experience that was at this giant warehouse full of really good deals at bulk prices. So I got this thing and I said, here's what we'll do. I'm going to give my wife $20 and she's going to give me $20 and we're going to find some good deal at Sam's. So that's what we did. We went to eat at Cheddar's. So honey, if I was to ask you what's your favorite restaurant to eat at, what would you say?
Three Jimmy's and Gallimard.
No, it's local.
Cheddar's.
Oh, really? Ooh, what are you going to
Can I
get?
take that back?
Yeah?
It would be Earl of Sandwich at Kisses.
Okay, that don't count. That's my fave. We then went to REI to go look at the camping stuff because we love to camp. So have you ever been to REI before?
I haven't.
All right. Prepare for the experience of a lifetime. Come here, please.
What? It's past my bedtime.
It's past your bedtime. It is now 6:35
No.
p.m.
I should be watching Third Rock from the Sun right now.
Third Rock from the Sun every single night. But thank God for Third Rock from the Sun because it gets me away from Seinfeld.
It got you away from Seinfeld.
Gets me away from Frasier. Oh, dear gosh. Frasier.
Mm.
And then there's one other. I can handle The Office, but it is now off Netflix. So.
What was the other? Office?
The Office.
Oh,
we
yeah.
did Parks and Rec for a while. She has to go to sleep hearing her familiar favorites. So that means I have to go to sleep hearing her familiar favorites.
You're on a huge rabbit trail right now.
I'm on a rabbit trail. Okay.
And I want to go to bed.
So back to it. That was our 2020 tie-in. And we went to Sam's Club to purchase $20 worth of awesomeness.
Well, what you thought would be $20 worth of awesomeness. I think you had a different idea of what Sam's Club was when you planned this.
All right, we made it in Sam's Club. It's our first time. She thought it was a photo, but it's not. So now we're gonna treat each other. We already treated each other to $20. We treated just. I'm going. So I know there's people around. So anyway, I did. I thought this would be an epic adventure in which we would go in there and just find all these amazing deals. And I was really kind of disappointed in Sam's Club. It wasn't near as big as it used to be when I was a small child. And there wasn't near as good of deals as I assumed there would be at a place that you have to pay to shop there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, right?
They had blue raspberry ices.
They had blue raspberry ices, which she loves. Loves her blueberry ices. I got some PBJ sandwiches. They're the Smuckers, the ones frozen, but these were bigger than normal. Yeah, buddy. These are apparently the large ones. Large size. So, got a bulk pack of those. And she got some headphones. So, Great date, right? We did. Okay. But we got to spend some quality time together, right?
Yeah.
We got to go through the adventure of shopping.
Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? I can't stop, I'm already late. Late for what? I'm going on an adventure.
And we didn't spend our $20 in full, but
I did.
yeah, you bought groceries and paper
I
towels. And
bought those headphones were over
Oh, yeah.
20 bucks.
You
Over
did.
20 bucks.
you did.
I also bought some collagen pills, so if my hair looks better the next time and my face is a little bit smoother.
Your face is perfect
why.
just the way it is, honey.
Go ahead.
You're supposed to say thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so that was our 2020 reference, and now we want to talk about some
Can
things.
you guys tell that Dewey's a night person?
I'm also a morning person.
No. Mm-mm.
I am.
No. Go ahead.
Ask anybody at my work. They say, like, you're the most morning person we know.
You need to cut all this out.
Oh, 2020. So I thought it was a very clever way in order to reference 2020. We both spend $20 and talk about 2020. So we just want to share some things that happened to us in 2020 and what we learned from those things that happened to us in 2020. It was a very eventful year, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yes. So how did the year start out, Terry?
So in 2019, Haley had started to think about college and where she wanted to go to college, and she kind of knew she wanted to play soccer. She's had a pretty great soccer career throughout high school, and so she began to look at colleges, and one of the colleges that she went to was Bryan College, and she'd always said she wanted to go away to college. She didn't want to stay close to home. I don't know why. I'm not like a hovering mom to her.
You're not?
Anyway, and so she went to Bryan College. She went to like a soccer ID camp there, and the coach loved her. She loved being there. She felt very called to be there, and so she got in the car from that soccer ID camp, and she just said, "Mom, I really feel like that's where I need to be." And she could play soccer there, and also they have a praise team. They have like a chapel service, and she could be a part of that. And it was close. I could pull out of the Cleveland Middle School parking lot and turn to the left and be there in 30 minutes. And so we just felt like that God had finally given her some direction about where to go to school. And so she decided that she was going to fast, and we didn't allow her to fast from food because she was still playing soccer and things like that. And so she began to fast from like social media and things like that to just seek the Lord and what His will was for her. And her fast started on Sunday, and on Sunday night she tore her ACL, which is a pretty big injury for a soccer player. So we started the year of 2020 with Haley. She had already had her surgery. She had her surgery at the very end of 2019, in like December 23rd. And then so we started 2020 with just that, her going to physical therapy and just trying to just see what this was going to look like now that she's torn her ACL. And we had people tell us we didn't know if she'd, ever really get back to playing soccer like she was before and things like that. So it started out in a pretty devastating way for us, I believe.
It was a rough time. It really was. But through that, here's what we learned. We did learn to trust God. We thought her soccer career was over. We thought her show choir career was over. She was devastated. We were devastated for her. Yet, through that break, she was forced to kind of reconcile some things. She was forced to realign some priorities. She was stuck on the couch, so it forced her to kind of learn how to play guitar, something she's been putting off, which is really where her passion lies, wouldn't you say, with music. Mm-hmm. And because of COVID, the soccer season was actually delayed. And her surgery healed at a tremendous rate of speed, and she had an amazing senior season of soccer. She killed it. She killed it so hard, in fact, that she just recently signed with Bryan College to play on the first team. So.
Look up at us while you're signing too. Let's get that big smile.
So it's pretty amazing. Anything?
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that she started off being devastated. I think I remember after he told her in the car. I remember driving back and her just crying, and it was a Wednesday morning that she went to the doctor and found out that she had definitely torn it and she was gonna have to have surgery. And I remember her crying and asking why did that happen to her. And I remember, you try to be strong for your kids. And I remember saying, God's going to show you so much through this and those kind of things. But then you, deep in in my heart, I was thinking the same thing. Like, why did this have to happen to her? Because she's a great kid. She's just an all-around great kid.
And
Would
it
you
wasn't
agree?
just, yeah, and it wasn't just deep in your heart. I mean, we talked about it a lot,
Right.
away from her. Obviously,
Right.
we're not going to say these things in front of her, but we question it as well.
And so then that night at church, she was singing on the worship team then, and they asked her to sing the goodness of God. And I just remember her singing about his goodness. And she would later tell you that she didn't necessarily feel his goodness in that moment, but she trusted his goodness in that moment.
It's running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God.
And so I think that while, yes, she started it devastated, the devastation didn't sit with her long at all. Like she began to seek the Lord during that time and just ask him, what are you trying to teach me about who you are through this time, in a way that I couldn't even at first. Like, I couldn't, watching her hurt like that, it was hard for me to look to him and say, what are you trying to teach us at this time? Because I hurt so much for her. But she didn't. I think she grew so much in Christ during that time and in who God was to her during this ACL tear. And I will say, this is just an added note because it's such a cool thing. At one point, I was laying next to her. She was laying in the bed, and the first 3 or 4 days, she would cry out in pain, so much pain, especially in the middle of the night. She'd wake up in the middle of the night about 2 a.m, and she'd just say, it hurts so bad, I can't take it anymore. It hurts so bad. This was after her surgery. And I can remember, I'd almost told the Lord, I can see you working in this, and I can see you working in that, but there's no purpose in this pain. I remember saying that out loud to the Lord. You can't convince me there's a purpose in this pain. And just kind of being aggravated with him. And then the next morning, Martha Frazier, who's like a spiritual giant in Haley's life, and I just love her so much, she called me, and she had called a couple times to check on Haley anyway, but she called me and she said, Terry, I was doing my devotion this morning, and the Lord just wanted me to call you and Haley and let you know I'm praying for you and stuff. And she said, and he told me this morning there's a purpose in her pain. And so just for the Lord to just continuously confirm that he's good, and that we can trust his, not just him, but we can trust his goodness, that he's going to work things out for our good and his glory. So
That's awesome. And I don't want to say that I'm glad that happened to her, but I'm glad it happened to her, because to see her now versus who she was before that, she was an amazing kid. She was an amazing girl, but she has grown so much because of this. Mm-hmm. So that happened in 2020. And also, so the next thing was Gavin. Gavin, our youngest son, signed up for the Marines. Despite repeated warnings from his ever so wise parents, we tried everything we could to get him talked out of this, because we know these recruiters can sometimes be vultures and they'll just promise you the world. And I even took him on a mission trip to Nepal, so that hopes that it would just somehow ignite a passion in him elsewhere, away from the Marines. And it didn't work. And that was super frustrating, and probably more so for Mom than Dad, because, she feels it in a different way. Mom has a different feeling, but that's something that happened in 2020.
And I would just say again, it was hard. I can remember when he finally told us that he really signed the papers. It was the worst. It was the most painful experience. And we went through that while we were going through Haley's stuff too, on top of it. But just again to trust the Lord and to say, I guess for me, I had to realize that He doesn't belong to me anyway, and that I've done all I can do to show Him who God is and to plant, and you have too, and to plant the Word in Him. And at this point, I have to trust that God can take care of Gavin. I want God to take care of Gavin in Cleveland, Tennessee, because I want to help him. I want to help God in taking care of my children. However, He reminded me that He calls Gavin by name. Like, Gavin belongs to Him. And so it was almost like a releasing of Him, of just saying, I trust you with Him for me. And then Gavin graduated, which there were moments when I wasn't quite sure he was going to make it. Just because he knew in his mind that he already knew what he wanted to do, and he didn't necessarily need a high school diploma. He could get a GED and join the Marines, and he did not see a purpose any longer in graduating from high school.
It was a hard year. It was. And what we probably learned from that in time would be a whole year of podcast in and of itself. It was an interesting time, to say the least. I don't want to spill any beans here, but maybe at some point we can go on a double date with Gavin and his significant other and talk about it. But between him graduating and the coronavirus, that is something else that happened in 2020. We all know about the coronavirus. It was hitting full force, and it was just wrecking the way we work. It was wrecking the way we do things, and it got to be pretty stressful. And the problem is, probably more so stressful this senior year with Gavin for Terry than me, because basically we're polar opposites. I would say when it comes to stress that I probably don't stress enough. And I think it's fair to say that you probably stress too much. Am I right?
I have to.
Yeah.
I have to stress for both of us.
No, you don't have to stress for
I have
both
to stress
of
for
us.
both of us.
I like to say I trust God.
He does like to say that. That's what he likes to say.
But I think there is a happy medium. I probably do need to stress more, worry, not worry, because we know worry is a sin, but I need to be more concerned with things that are going on. And she probably needs to be a little less concerned. Is that fair?
No.
I think it's fair to say that you over stress on some things. But anything else on Gavin graduating? That was an awesome moment.
I will say that
2020.
again. I don't know. Are we going to talk about COVID anymore?
No.
I am very much a people person. I like to do things. I like to go out and be around people. I oftentimes say I'm an Enneagram 7, and 6, both, like equally. So I don't know if you can be I know you're either supposed to be a 6-wing 7 or a 7-wing 6, but I think I'm equally a 7 and a 6. And so I just like that. However, I loved being quarantined for COVID. I feel like the Lord said, you know what? I want the world to be still for you for a little while and let you soak up, because all your kids are about to leave you. And I've had kids since I was super young. So your whole life's about to be rocked. And so I'm going to let this just time go by a little bit slower for you. And so where a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this, that, and the other. I missed my students. I really did. I missed going to school. I missed it, but nothing compared to the joy I had during our quarantine. I don't even know if I should say that, but it's true.
No, that's
being
good.
quarantined and just being present with them and just having them there and having them around. And so when I look back on that time, and I'm very thankful to the Lord that He did that for me.
That was God's reward to you for all that you did to help Gavin along that senior year.
He's trying to get out of other things that he's done, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. So thank you, Nui. Yes.
You are so welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an epic, awesome moment for 2020. Gavin graduated.
And he almost didn't want to go to graduation. Let me add that. He almost did not want to go to graduation.
He did not want to go.
I said, for me, please, for me, will you please go to graduation? And now he looks back on it, of course, and says he's glad that we made him go. He had the worst case of senioritis I've ever experienced.
Unbelievable. It was.
But I did say you're going to graduate for me.
I said the same thing for your mom.
Yes. That's
For
what he
your
said.
mama, you're going to do this, Gavin.
So,
No options.
but now he's glad he did. So,
He is. So that was an awesome event. Gavin graduated. Woohoo. And then June hit, and Jacob, our oldest, gets married. Aww.
aw.
And we gained our first daughter-in-law.
What did we learn from this? That my baby got married, I guess. We learned that. And
Said,
and then Gavin, our youngest son, Gavin, who was going to join the Marines, who we'd both been, I had prayed, Lord, shut this door for him, because I just did not ever feel like it was God's will for him to go into the Marines. And I began to pray, Lord, please change his heart, change his mind, help him to get out of this. And God did that in a miraculous way by letting him meet Tanya and falling in love and talking his recruit guy into putting his papers away. And they got married in November. So in November, Gavin married Tanya, another daughter-in-law that we love. They dated 3 months.
3 months, and he got married. He got married. Unreal. And we gained.
Did you press record?
Yes.
Okay.
He got married. Unreal. And we gained a second daughter-in-law in 2020. So the family is growing at this point at an alarming rate. We've gained 2 daughter-in-laws. We gained Abby. We gained Tanya. And hopefully one day soon we will gain Emmy, because we love us some Emmy.
We do love Emmy.
She is awesome.
She's wonderful.
Haley, take your time. We're okay. All right, we're praying for that man a little down the road. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So through that, what we learned, what does that mean? Through that, what we learned yet again was to trust God. Because who would have thought, like Terry said earlier, that's what basically got him out of the Marines, was, him meeting Tanya. He met her this year. They got married this year. And they are made for each other. I mean, there's not a better match made than Tanya and Gavin, because they are peas in the pod. And I say there's not a better match made. We've also got Emmy and Ethan, and we've got Abby and Jacob, and they are made for each other as well. But it's just, Gavin is a unique type of creation that, why are you pointing at me?
No reason.
No reason. Okay. That it takes a special person to be able to put up with. I guess I'm pretty special too, is what I'm hearing. Is that right, Terry?
Mm-hmm.
She keeps pointing at me for y'all listening to a podcast, so I'm assuming that's what this is about. But they were made for each other. I'm very happy for him, and I'm proud of him as well.
I will tell you this, moms that have boys, it is difficult to watch your sons get married. It will probably be difficult to watch Haley get married. Gavin and Jacob and Ethan, eventually, they all picked godly spouses who love the Lord. They're kind. They point them to Christ, which is what we prayed for. So it's nothing like that, but it's just for 24 and 19 years, I've been the number one, really the only woman in their life, right? And now I'm not even number one. I'm like number 2. In all 3 of their lives, I'm number 2. So it's hard. That's a hard process to go from I can't tell them what to do anymore. Although I do try. I still tell them what to do because I'm a little bit controlling. But I'm sure it gets on their wife's nerves. I don't care that you say I'm controlling. It doesn't bother me. However, there's just something about, like, my son Gavin the other day was sitting at the kitchen table, and he says to me, he's talking about how much he loves Tanya. And he says to me, Mom, this is a kid that I've loved, selflessly loved. And in the past 2 or 3 years, like, really, really just gut-wrenchingly, not that he did anything terrible. He's a great kid, but he just, school, oh mercy. But anyway, just loved him. And we're sitting at the kitchen table, and he says to me, Mom, I love her so much. I love her so much. Do you know what it feels like to love somebody more than you love yourself? And I was like, yeah, I do. And then I just got up and left the table because can you still get child services called on you for beating up a 19-year-old? I don't know. I was nervous, so I left.
My favorite thing about Abby and my favorite thing about Tanya and Emmy are the fact that they are grounded and they are in the Word and they are helping point our boys to Christ. So I was talking to Jacob the other day, and he was like, yeah, me and Abby are doing a Bible study. We listen to worship songs together. We study the Bible together. They go to church together. And that's what we've prayed for from the beginning. Tanya's the same way. She is always in her Word, and Gavin is constantly telling me about some things that she's doing and they're doing together, that they'll come over here to our house and they'll watch sermons on our TV just to learn more about Christ together. So it's been pretty amazing.
I love that. Ethan, he'll be on here one day and you'll get to know him better, but he's very, he always wants to debate, and I love that. Emmy will text me sometimes because her and Ethan are debating things about the Bible. They're not debating sports and things like that. And so it's their focus, which is nice to have that. And it's kind of cool to think that you almost already love them, because I can think of times in the past 10 years even that I would pray for them and say, Lord, whatever they're going through right now, be with them today. And so do not underestimate the value of praying for your children's spouse before you know who they are.
Amen. So super proud of Jacob and Gavin. They found great women and godly women, and I can't wait to see where that leads them in the future. So
Ethan did too. He's just a little bit slow on
yeah,
which is fine.
take your time.
Take your time.
You don't need.
Gavin got married in
way too quick,
like 3 weeks.
but it worked. It's God's will.
Yes.
I don't doubt it. I don't deny it. And it's working great. And now for the highlight of the year. All right. Are you ready for the big event of 2020? Ethan adopted a puppy. And we got to welcome Annie to the family.
We got to welcome Annie to the family. I'm not a dog person or a cat person. I think animals are awesome. I like to go see them at zoos. So,
which is what shocked me, the fact that she said yes to Ethan. And I don't know, it's because
I love him. I love Ethan so much. Ethan hasn't abandoned me 100% yet. He's still here. That's why.
All the kids are leaving, and well,
Ethan's not leaving me. I say that to him sometimes. I look like he'll be in the kitchen. I'll go, Ethan, don't leave me, Ethan. Don't leave me here with him alone. That's what I say. So, yes, I said yes. If I could go back in time, I don't know what I would say. I love the dog.
Yeah,
but it's too much.
Well, that is a recap of the big things that happened in 2020. An incredible year, lots of lessons learned, most of them basically trust God. And we can't forget that we actually did start Treat Your Spouse as well. That was another big thing of 2020. And that has helped a lot. We've learned the difference of just going out on regular dates and what that can do for a marriage. So we cannot encourage you enough to treat your spouse and take each other out on dates. That has been very healing for our marriage. It really has.
And I would add to 2020, and I know we've said it a million times, and if I wasn't so sleepy, I could say it better, probably. But I am the type of person that is I have to see how it's going to work out. I oftentimes say that I really do 100% trust God and that He's good and that He works all things out to our good, but I need Him to explain to me the plan that He has, and then let me tell Him some ideas to go along with the plan. And I have always. Yeah. And I think the year of 2020, I have learned that He is just worth our trust, period. Not God's enough if this happens. God's enough if your daughter tears her ACL. God's enough if your son joins the Marines. God's enough if 2 of your boys get married within 3 months of each other. God's enough if we go into a pandemic. God is enough, period. And so had I not learned that lesson in 2020, like I know it but I learned, like I know it now that He can be trusted. Then what I'm going through right now in 2021, I couldn't have gone through and have peace and know that God's enough and that He can be trusted. And so that's what I feel like the biggest, if you take all this together, you put it together, I walk away from 2020. When people say, oh, 2020, I never want to look back on it. I want to look back on it. I want to remember it. I want to remember it because it's when God showed me for the final time, I hope, but we're all wrapped in flesh. I can be trusted, period.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. 2020 has been a hard year, but I am so thankful for that year.
And it wasn't all bad.
Wasn't all bad. No, it was
lots of great things.
Absolutely. And we can't forget, so we also celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, right?
We did.
Where's my woo?
Woo! It's 9:45.
So the date, as far as what I learned from this date and the weekly wisdom that I learned, you don't always have to plan this awesome, creative date. It could be as simple as going to a new store and just shopping together while spending some quality time together. I don't like to shop. She does, although she don't like to shop for groceries. But it's not just a grocery store. You buy headphones there. But I do like exploring new places like Sam's Club, even though it was a bit of a letdown. So just spending that time together, paying attention to each other, walking around, talking might be exactly what your marriage needs right now.
Very good, very good. Our weekly challenge is to you look back on. We took a date and took $20 and decided that was going to be our way to kind of think about 2020. We talked about it on the drive down there and things like that. You do the same thing. Take a day, or maybe a week, and say we're going to stop and talk about it on that Friday. But think about 2020 and what happened to you in 2020, your marriage, what happened to your marriage, your children, whatever in 2020, and reflect on the goodness of God in it.
We would love to hear one thing. Please share one thing that you learned from 2020. Put it in the comments, wherever you're consuming this. Let us know what you learned from 2020. From one of the things that happened in 2020, what did you learn?
And I challenge you to write it down and remember. Back in the Old Testament, they took stones, and they were stones of remembrance. But find some way to remember.
All right. And please subscribe and leave us a comment on what you like. And if you want more ideas on how to commit with other couples on the same journey as us, striving to be a better husband, wife, father, mother, then join our Facebook group, Treat Your Spouse. And follow us on Instagram as well. And follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. And if you want to strengthen your marriage,
stop treating yourself
and treat your spouse.
Oh.
I didn't press record. I'm sorry.
Just do it now. I've still got to take a shower.
Okay, we're almost done.
Where's my hair?
I forgot to press record. I'm sorry.